Okay, so for this particular episode, there are a few stories that are not directly important to everything that's happening. Some of them run in conjunction with things that I've already covered, and not to omit them completely or spend too much time recovering familiar ground, I'll be far more direct and bare bones about a few. If you were reading the Civil War and were a die-hard fan and wanted to read every single issue of the event, then the tie-in series Civil War X-Men issues 1 through 4 would go right here. However, I'm not a huge fan. I do not like the way that Beast is drawn in the series, or really anything at all to do with the lady that's leading the X-Men at this time, who I despise so much. And honestly, at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter that much to the Civil War story, so enjoy that one at your own leisure. But for now, let's get back to the Heroes for Hire issues 2 and 3. And if you recall, back in issue 1, Misty Knight agreed to help Tony so long as she didn't live to regret the decision. And now here we are, only one issue later, and she is not so proud of the actions that he's taken. Bill Foster is dead, and she wants answers. They are not buying that it was Thor, and her team seems pretty split on how they feel about it. Tarantula makes a comment that Goliath was an enemy combatant, so what if he got killed? Misty slaps her with a mean right hook, proclaiming that Bill was her friend. Unregistered or not, hero or villain, she thought there was a no-kill order in effect. You know, it's funny how the rules that Tony set don't always seem to apply to Tony. And while talking with Tony one-on-one, she asks him about the rumored microchip in the Thunderbolts to keep them under control. She agrees with using reformed criminals, but she prefers that they have their free will, and that it remains their choice to do what is right and to follow the law. And then Misty asks Iron Man to let her bring in Cap. She's much more effective and a lot less ham-fisted as he is. She can bring him in without half a city block getting destroyed. So later on, the team pulls its resources, and she helps them find Cap's location by making an offering to a captured ancient spirit demon. But before they close in on Cap, they get a call from an informant, a detective that has stumbled onto something outside of his wheelhouse. In the basement of this half-abandoned apartment building, they find what seems like a black market organ trafficking operation. The only issue is, these are not normal organs. They take a sample to Reed Richards to analyze the DNA, and it turns out that the strange organs were of Skrull origin. As we find out, an evil organization known as the Corporation has been outfitting villains with Skrull organs and upgrades. This gives them the Skrull ability to change their appearance. Though I feel that this is mostly setting up for Secret Invasion, still, the implication is that someone could use this to sidestep registration, which is bad news. Back to the hunt for Cap, we pick up in a decommissioned S.H.I.E.L.D. safe house, where Captain America and Luke Cage are accessing S.H.I.E.L.D. files gained by Bucky and Fury's little mission into S.H.I.E.L.D. They uncover hard proof of the Thunderbolts project, behavior modification chips and all. When about then, Misty and the Heroes for Hire show up banging on the door. I love the way that she's always so brutally honest and upfront about everything. She says point blank that if she wanted to bust the door down and have half an army up his ass, they would in a heartbeat. Knocking is a politeness. Why doesn't he just save her the trouble, open the door, and let her say her piece so they can be on with it? Moreover, Luke was the perfect person to have accompanied Steve on this mission because he knows and trusts Missy and Colleen. They've worked together for years. So Cap opens the door, and at least one of them is greeted with open arms. Even though Cap wants to get right to the point, this is still easily the most calm and civil conversation between members of the opposing factions yet. In the end, they still disagree, but keep such even and cool minds about them that you'd think that they could all just stay for dinner. All but one. Paladin trips a homing beacon and sends a signal to S.H.I.E.L.D., double-crossing Cap and Misty. The room breaks out into a fight. Paladin throws out some smoke bombs and Cap slings his shield, ready to stand his ground, still unsure of who is on whose side. Cap and Paladin go at it, and when the smoke clears, there's only one man standing. Paladin makes contact with S.H.I.E.L.D., confirming that he has apprehended the most wanted man alive. In issue 3, we see S.H.I.E.L.D. agents loading an unconscious Captain America onto a hoverlift that's designed for transporting criminals. Misty is pissed. As S.H.I.E.L.D. carts Steve off, Misty grabs Paladin by the neck with her bionic arm, lifting him off of the ground before tossing him against the wall. And while she pummels him, S.H.I.E.L.D. reports to Iron Man about Steve's capture. But Tony is skeptical that after all of this time, Cap could be brought in so easily. and he tells them to pull off the mask, only to reveal it's Paladin. During the scuffle, she came up with a plan to knock out Paladin and switch costumes with Cap before the smoke had cleared. And on that note, Cap and Cage better split before S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back. And before they leave, there are some final words spoken, and I want to reiterate that this is the calmest and coolest conversation had thus far. And Cap leaves the Heroes for Hire with some advice. You're not a hero because of special abilities or the extraordinary opportunities they've provided you. It's about what you do with them. It's about your actions and the promises that you keep. He asks them to consider themselves and the promises that they have made to themselves, and then decide where they stand. And with that, they all peacefully part ways. Next, we head off to Ms. Marvel Volume 2, Issues 6 through 8. But before we do that, we should probably talk about Carol Danvers. Most would know her currently as Captain Marvel, but that's not how we know her in this story. She's still under her original alias as the first Ms. Marvel. With the current codename Warbird, she's already had a storied past by this event, and if you want to know more about Carol Danvers' journey and her insanely powerful binary form, then check out my 2 cents on the marvelous Carol Danvers. Long before having her DNA altered by ancient Kree technology, Carol was a soldier. She made her way to the head of security for NASA at Cape Canaveral. With her military background, it makes total sense that she'd take the side that she does, backing Iron Man and the pro-registration Avengers. And we pick up with Ms. Marvel on the hunt for unregistered combatants. She's been sent to apprehend the vigilante known as the Prowler. Just to point out, this is Hobie Brown, the original Prowler, not Aaron Davis, uncle of Miles Morales. Davis and Miles both come from Earth 1610, 1610, more commonly known as the Ultimate Universe. But here on Earth Prime 616, the main universe in the Marvel continuity, Peter Parker is Spider-Man and Hobie Brown is the Prowler. And in short, Prowler's a reformed criminal who had fallen victim to circumstances that led him to costume crime. But thanks to Spidey and his penchant for second chances, Hobie turned himself around and used his gadgets for good, standing by Spider-Man time and again. Keep in mind that he has no powers or abilities beyond human reflex, intelligence, and ingenuity. What I'm saying is, Hobie is a regular human. And here he was, just on patrol protecting the people in his neighborhood when they sent a cosmic powerhouse to bring him in. This is not a fair fight. Not on Hobie's best day or Carol's worst. This is not a fair fight. She swats him to the ground with ease. And the next morning, Carol is awakened by loud banging on the door. It's our old pal Wonder Man. Simon tells her that they are 15 minutes late for a meeting at Stark Tower. And after a hasty flight to the tower, they meet up with the lovely Julia Carpenter, who used to be known as Spider-Woman, but as they pointed out, she's currently going by Arachnid, to avoid confusion between her and Jessica Drew, the other Spider-Woman, who we're actually going to talk about in a moment. Carol asks her about her daughter Rachel, and Carpenter says that she is safe with relatives in Colorado until things cool down in the city. And that's going to become important. But just then, Iron Man shows up with their latest assignments. He has intel on Max Coleridge, the Shroud, and wants Julia to bring him in, while Simon and Carol handle a more delicate matter, a new player named Arania. And after the meeting, Tony pulls Carol to the side to ask her if Cap ever tried contacting her. And of course he did, but immediately upon hearing her stance, he was so disappointed, he didn't even bother to argue with her. Knowing he wouldn't change her mind, he just simply didn't press the issue. Keep in mind, this is before the act was ratified, so she had no obligation to stop him or find out what he was planning or where he was going. So it wasn't a lie when she told Tony that she didn't know where he was. On Rikers Island, Hobie is being interrogated by S.H.I.E.L.D. The first words out of his mouth are requesting a lawyer. This is not his first rodeo. But let's be real, he's done. He's caught. They don't give a damn if he admits being Prowler or not. He's not going anywhere. What concerns them is that they have a mole. Someone is tipping off heroes before S.H.I.E.L.D. arrives, and they want to know who. They go as far as to threaten Hobie's innocent wife with charges if he doesn't talk. Desperate to protect his wife and family, Hobie relents and confirms it was Julia Carpenter who gave him the heads up. Julia is currently on mission to bring in the Shroud, The hang-up here is that she is currently in a secret relationship with Max Coleridge. So more than just warning old friends, in this case, it's personal. She begs Max to run, but Shroud realizes the trap, that they sent her and her alone. He knows that they are onto her and what will happen to her if he runs. So Julia says that she will run too, but they have to go right away. But it is too late. A strike team of Cape Killers bust through the windows and begin to arrest Max. Julia makes an extremely foolish move and creates enough of a distraction for them to escape. The reason this is so foolish, we will get back to shortly. But for now, we pick back up with Carol and Simon, who have been combing Brooklyn for their target and have worked up an appetite, so they stop in at a fast food joint. Now, I don't know what's a bigger coincidence, that while two of the most powerful beings on Earth are getting their munch on, some nobodies try and rob the place, or that the person that they are looking for happen to be running the register. Either way, Wonder and Marvel make quick work of the situation. In issue 7, we find that Anya had managed to slip away during the ruckus at the restaurant, and while celebrating her 16th birthday with her father, Ms. Marvel and Wonder Man drop in to finish their conversation. Talk about a birthday surprise. Now, the reason that these issues are so important is because of the role that Carol will play in the initiative storyline that immediately follows the Civil War. Remember that 50-state initiative that we've talked about? The plan for an Avengers compound in every state? One of the key factors in that decision is to have a local training facility available for newly registered, powered, or enhanced individuals. You see, in the times to come, Carol will lead the mighty Avengers, the main New York branch of the initiative, after her success here with Anya. Tony is a futurist. He and Reed agree that since their announcement to the world that they have had the X-Men, the Inhumans, visitors from space, and so on, so exponential growth and the rise of powered individuals will only continue in the future. And editorially, this will give Marvel the chance to introduce new characters being mentored by classic favorites and see what stuck, who was popular and who wasn't as they restructured things post-Civil War. Whether that worked for them or not is another topic. But currently in the timeline, the Avengers Mansion had been destroyed, and we will visit the remains of it soon. But for now, the team was operating out of Stark Tower, which has become the initiative location for New York. And this is where Carol has taken Anya to show her the facility and see how they could help her hone her skills, both in a safer, controlled environment as well as in the field. She would need to check in after school each day for training until she's past initiation. Then she would be required to respond to emergencies and assignments just like the rest of them. One of the requirements would be disclosing her identity to her father, something that she had yet to do. After revealing herself, she gave a very grown-up and thought-out speech to her father about her decision to register, to which he inevitably gives his approval. I mean, he would never want to keep his daughter from being who she is. And just moments after getting Anya signed and registered, Ms. Marvel gets called to action by Iron Man. The reason, she says, is that there's a hero who isn't being very heroic. And they are of course talking about Julia Carpenter, Arachne, who had been warning unregistered people of interest to escape capture and most recently put 3 squads of Cape Killers in the ER and ran away with Max Coleridge, the Shroud. And we learned that Max had asked Julia to leave the country with him and her daughter before all of this even started. But she had gotten a call from Tony Stark, asking to join his task force rounding up heroes. She saw this as an opportunity to do something that she thought was right. So she sent her daughter Rachel to her parents in Colorado. Even though they are currently in New York and could get to Canada in less than 7 hours, they chose to take the risk and drive cross-country to get Rachel before heading to the border, which was a mistake. They are quickly spotted. Ms. Marvel and Wonder Man are sent to bring them in. Carol brings Anya along to observe and get a sense of how they operate in tandem with S.H.I.E.L.D. They tried to stop her car, but Julia isn't coming quietly. She slams Carol into a guardrail. Simon swoops through the car and pulls Max out the passenger window. He's quickly surrounded and subdued by Cape Killers. Warbird soars alongside the car and punches the front tire right off, sending the car tumbling end over end, but the former Spider-Woman is able to make a getaway. Keep in mind, Julie had already told Carol her daughter was with her parents back in issue 6, so when Ms. Marvel and team show up in Denver, Julia wasn't surprised. She already knew what she had to do, the sacrifice that she had to make for her daughter. She knows her daughter will have to grow up sooner or later, and she will have to know the difference between right and wrong. With Rachel in the car watching, Julia decks Ms. Marvel in the face and kicks Wonder Man, and they head into an all-out brawl. She forces them to drag her from her daughter, and this was part of her sacrifice, being that example, forcing them to drag them apart at gunpoint, forcing this new recruit into seeing that image and therefore questioning if she is doing what's right. Because on every level, what they did felt wrong. What Julia did here is what she thinks is right, what she thinks is best, and that's just it. Everywhere you look in the Civil War, each character, no matter what side they're on, is only doing what they think is best. And because of that, deep down, they're all hurting. If there was going to be a single issue in this block that I would recommend above all others, it would be this one. New Avengers number 23. Jessica Drew's wild ride of a character arc. In a single issue, she jumps between 3 different sides. Written by Brian Michael Bendis following his Secret Wars event, which I've mentioned previously, where we find that Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, had been playing as a double agent for Nick Fury. She was deep within Hydra as well as S.H.I.E.L.D., and she only reported to Fury. Since he had disappeared after the Secret War, she had been held up in a hotel, watching the events of the Civil War unfold. S.H.I.E.L.D. sends a life model decoy of Fury to find out which side she's really on. But that notion shocks Drew. It's never been up to her which side she got to be on. Fury's always had this plan, and she can tell that something's not quite right, so she attacks. But by this time, it is way too late, and she is completely surrounded by cape killers. She wakes up in an interrogation room with acting director Hill and Tony Stark. Hill informs her that Iron Man has filled her in on Jessica's status as a triple agent, feeding info to both Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D., but all on Fury's orders. Her loyalties lying to Fury over S.H.I.E.L.D. as a whole really pisses Hill off, but her ability to play either side makes her dangerous in Tony's eyes. They are labeling her a traitor, and she is rightfully furious. She has sacrificed everything for them, for S.H.I.E.L.D., for the Avengers, for the greater good. What's easy to forget with characters like Jessica Drew and Natasha Romanoff is that by playing both sides, by accepting the burdensome duty of undercover double agent work, they in essence lose all credibility with any side they ever take in the future. When the chips are down, no one will ever trust their loyalty or motives ever again. She's given them everything. Her credibility, her name, her existence, just for this. For it to be thrown back in her face and her to be labeled a traitor. And just then, everything goes black. The S.H.I.E.L.D. helicarrier is hit with an EMP, knocking out everything on board, including Iron Man's suit. Tony watches from within as Jessica is taken against her will by Hydra agents. Jessica finds herself waking up for the second time in this issue, this time in an island paradise, where a high-ranking Hydra official welcomes her home. On Hydra Island. With Jessica's parents having been Hydra agents before her, Connolly believes that she was born Hydra. He reveals how they had known that she was playing both sides and had been waiting for the moment that Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. left her in the wind, as they knew that they would, but that Hydra was her true family. He even wants her to take out Viper and assume her role as Madam Hydra. Jessica has the opportunity to finally make her own choice, to choose which side she's on, and it's definitely not Hydra. She blows the entire island to hell, having burnt every bridge that she had in a matter of days. Drew sets out checking Fury's old hideouts, the ones that he lent to the use of the Secret Avengers. And when she finds Captain America, Luke Cage, Daredevil, and the others, she breaks down, and through tears, she pleads with them to take her in, to let her join them. She has nowhere else to go. That about wraps it up for this block. Though there's one more story I'd squeeze in here, I'm actually going to save that back for its own video. So if you're enjoying the series, if you're liking the content I'm putting out, then I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. All those little things that help small channels like this one grow. And see you next time with more Civil War.